being pretty protects you, but it doesn't. And I learned the hard way by entertaining broken men that the only thing that really truly protects you is your self worth. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. My name is Jaleisha Jones. I'm a writer, speaker, and I am currently deconstructing and taking a machete to my life. I left my corporate job 8 months ago, really 5 months ago officially, with no plan B. I am in the process of selling my house, and I also evicted my mom of 9 years who was living with me about 3 months ago so that I can finally choose me and live a life of my own design. And I'm just sharing my journey with y'all and all the things that I've learned. So if this resonates with you, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I'm so grateful that you're here. But let's talk about pretty privilege. Can we get into it? Because there are benefits to pretty privilege, and pretty privilege is real. It's very much real. You can benefit from being aesthetically attractive. You can benefit from what the masses deem appropriate. You can benefit from what men think is attractive. But I think it does not matter if you don't have a sense of discernment, you don't have a sense of self-worth or self-respect, and you don't know who you are. Because if not, then you can easily slip into the line of being a pick me, being somebody who is manipulated and emotionally used and abused, maybe physically abused, hopefully not, but you can slip into a place where your beauty is used against you to diminish you. And I'm speaking from experience. Okay. 10 years ago, I lost, or more than 10 years, about 12 years ago, I lost over 85 pounds. I had been big my whole life, and I went from a size 20 to a size 8'10" in dresses, and all of a sudden, I was looking like a video vixen. I had a Coke bottle body shape. I had hips, big booty. I also had, my lace fronts, my lace weaves. I I played to my aesthetic. I was that girl. I was that woman. But did I believe I was that woman? No, because I had body dysmorphia. Just because I lost weight did not change how I was feeling on the outside or feeling on the inside. And also, I grew up being bullied, teased. I grew up in a trauma-filled household, childhood, and so I had low self-esteem, low self-worth. I did not like myself, and I always believed that the only way to get a man's attention was by using my body, because men didn't pay attention to me before that, or the men that I wanted. Let's be clear, the men that I wanted didn't pay attention to me before I lost weight. So when I lost weight and everybody started paying attention to me, I started getting notice from all different types of men that I had always wanted to be around, to be with. It was very alarming. All I wanted was attention from them, and validation and adoration, and I just wanted to be wanted. I wanted to be picked and chosen so bad. And men were falling over themselves trying to be around me. But like I said, I had no sense of self-worth. So men would project their fantasies onto me. They would see me and think, oh, she has it together. She knows who she is. And then they would get with me and realize, oh, she really don't have her stuff together. She has low self-esteem. And it was very transparent, because I would mold myself and become whatever I thought a man wanted me to be. If he wanted me to be a vixen, if he wanted me to be whatever fantasy he had, I would do that, and I still would never get picked. Normally, what I've seen, when you're pretty, you're going to attract a lot of attention. And normally you attract men who want you but are not capable of having you because they feel threatened by you. So you normally attract insecure men or narcissists. And narcissists love beautiful women. They love powerful women. They love women who have confidence, because they have low self-esteem within themselves, but they masquerade as if they have this like they're confident, they know who they are. They really don't. They are very fragile. Their ego is fragile. And so they look for a supply that can feed them. And so they love beautiful women. They love women they stand out in some way, because you make them look better. You make them feel better. You supply them with something. But also they need to know that there's a way to manipulate or twist or use something against you, that they can have power over you. And so what I attracted in my 20s was narcissists. I attract insecure men, and I attract controlling men. To me, controlling back in the day was very much, if you wanted to dominate me, if you wanted to tell me what I could and could not do, that meant that you loved me. Wow. I thought aggression was love. Okay. I was involved with one man who I did not know he was married, but I should have known he was married because there were obvious signs. And he had a rule list for me. It was called Jaleisha's Rules. And it was rules that he came up with. And these rules were just to implement control and see if he could dominate me. And so the rules were that I was not allowed to look at another man without him being present. I had to ask his permission before I go anywhere outside of work. I had to ask his permission for about the clothes that I wear, where I went. You know, if I went to buy a new outfit, I had to get his permission. If I wanted to go somewhere and wear this outfit, I had to get his permission. There is a multitude of other different rules. And at first I thought, is this normal? Like, I don't like this because you liked me dressing like this. You liked me dressing like the video vixen. You came around for that. Now that you have me or you're dealing with me, now you want to change me. And I would notice patterns or signs that he was insecure because he would say, you know, please don't lose any more weight. Are you going to leave me? If you lose more weight, you're going to get more attention from other men. He always kept implementing how like attractive I was. And we would go out to other places and people would compliment him for having me or being with me. He always was like, please don't get any more smaller. I'm not going to be able to compete with these other men. And I'm like, why do you keep talking about this? Like, it makes no sense. And so then he would flip it eventually because I was very insecure. Okay, myself, I was very insecure. And eventually, all of my insecurities are the things that I thought were cool about me, the way I spoke, the way I looked, just how I handle myself, my personality, the things I liked. He initially loved those things about me. Love in quotation marks. He initially loved those things, but then eventually he used those things against me. He pretty much told me he didn't like the way I speak. He didn't like the way I dressed. He didn't like the way I looked. He didn't like the things I enjoyed, that I was boring. I talked too much. He wished I was somebody else. And I tried to be that. I tried to become those things because this man had money. He had status. He was established. Like, I should be proud to have him with me instead of seeing myself that I am the prize. Like, he should be proud that he gets to be around me, that he gets to be in my energy, that he gets to share these experiences with me, that he gets to share my knowledge and my depth and all of my goodness. But I could not see that. I did not believe I was worthy. So I put him on a pedestal. And I tried to be everything I possibly could to this man. Did not work. And then it became, in the bedroom, it became very, very, he was just very disrespectful to me in the bedroom. Actually, he was disrespectful to me, to anyone around. He did not care for me. I was like crumbs to him. I was just something he could throw away. And I ate those crumbs up. I ate them up. Whatever he gave me, he would punish me. Sometimes if I made him mad, he would go ghost and not speak to me for days and then come back and act as if nothing was wrong. I was beginning to believe he was married. I was beginning to believe that something was going on because there was too many signs. There were too many signs, and I kept trying to question him or bring up how he was treating me. And anytime that I used my voice, anytime I had anything to say, it became me begging later for him to forgive me or asking for his apology because he would gaslight the heck out of me. He would emotionally manipulate the situation where we're no longer talking about what's going on, my issue. We're now talking about him and what I've done to him and what I've caused him. So we would negate, there was no talking. And it literally broke me that I would give so much of myself to this person. And he was emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically in the bedroom abusing me. He wasn't physically as far as hands, but in the bedroom, he was abusing me. There was no trust. There was no love. There was no warmth. There was no anything. And I allowed these things to happen. This happened for 6 months. And prior to this, I had always dealt with men who were liars and manipulators. And I dealt with emotionally unavailable men. I would give money to men. I would do anything I possibly could so a man would pick me. And they never did. But this was like the catalyst. This man was the catalyst because I had spent so long refusing to see what the problem was and refusing to see by being beautiful and losing weight and staying in shape that was not going to keep a man and that was going to make him do right by me. that I just figured this is the best I'm going to get. So I can't lose him. I cannot lose him. I have to have him. And towards the end, he would go weeks without talking to me. It was punishment. He did not like me, and I didn't like him either. And it was this big kerfuffle because I finally broke down one evening, and I remember crying on the way home and praying and asking for a sign, because I was like, this is not how it's supposed to be. I shouldn't be treated this way. This man hates me, and he does not like me, and I don't know why I'm still here. I don't know why I'm still in this. Why can't I leave? Why am I still in it? And the next day, I had been trying to find information on him for a long time, never could. But the very next day, I felt something in me to say, research again. And this time when I researched, all the information came up about his wife and his family. And that was like, okay, there it is. And so I was angry, I'm not going to lie. And I messaged him and I told him, look, X, Y, and Z. And it was a big kerfuffle with that. But that experience in itself led me on a mental spiral downward. It led me on a spiral where I started overly medicating on weight loss medication because I became even more obsessed with how I looked. I was in denial. Only thing I could do was get up and go to work and come back home. I isolated even more. I kept people around me that fed into my delusion, fed into my pain. I just was a hot mess. I was a hot mess. And then I tried to be celibate because I thought I'm just not going to give myself to a man. And it wasn't as a way of healing, but it was a way of fear. Like, I can't do this again. I'm just not going to mess with the men. And I still tried to date, but it was a mess because men would want to date me because I'm pretty. I'm a pretty, but they still would put their illusions and their delusions onto me. They had these fantasies, and I was not the person they thought I was. And I just couldn't understand why I kept aligning to men who were not healthy. They didn't care for me. They didn't love me. They didn't value me. They just saw me as a plaything. They saw me as something they could put on a mantle and that it made them look good, but they didn't care for me, or they wanted to control me, or they wanted to diminish me. And I'm a woman with thoughts and feelings, and I have emotions, and I want to speak. I want to share myself, and I have to be able to feel safe to do that with someone. I never could because I was so afraid if I actually show myself, if I actually showed my true self, a man would leave. They would leave. And so I end up one night, my grandmother had passed, and I end up one night having a realization that I need to do some deep work. I picked up a book, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I started reading that book. Within that book, I started understanding that there could be other possibilities for me. And I also learned about my own trauma. And there was like a light bulb clicked for the first time in my life that I realized maybe I could change my situation currently, what I was doing. And then I started reading more self-help books. I started praying. I became really obsessed with Ayanna Van Zant and read all of her books. I went to a conference by her. I started meditating. I started praying a lot. I started journaling. I started doing the work of realizing that it weren't the men that were the problem. I was the problem because I did not love myself and I did not value myself. And so the men that I entertained didn't value me. And I don't believe in what you attract, you are, because you attract all different types of people and types of men. It's what you entertain that tells you who you are. And so all the men I was entertaining were very broken. They were mirrors for me. They were broken. They were controlling. They were abusive. They were manipulative. And they did that because I allowed that to happen. And they did that because I had no boundaries. So I learned about boundaries. I went to therapy. I started working on my inner child wounds. And what I ultimately realized is that I had to be a parent to myself. I had to be more loving to myself and more kind to myself. I had to build up my sense of self-esteem. And that didn't happen overnight. This was years in the making. This was me affirming myself all the time. And this was me meditating and pouring love into myself. And this was me going back into my childhood and dealing with stuff I didn't want to face. And this was me actually admitting that I used to be a side chick. I used to deal with men who were abusive. I used to be emotionally and mentally and spiritually, physically and sexually abused. and I allowed it to happen. I used to get played. I used to be the one that was the catfish. Like, I was the catfish. I would catfish a man when I used to be fat and big because I just wanted to have somebody. I was that woman. I did all the things. I was a pick me. I did all the things, and it never worked. It just drove me deeper into this place of absolute pain and torture and horror and depravity. Depravity. And so I was all those things. And I had to admit to myself that I was those things. I had to release the shame of my past. I had to have absolute forgiveness. I wrote letters to myself of forgiveness. I cried. I shared my truth. I wrote a book about it, which was very therapeutic. I started sharing my story because shame can't live in the dark. It can only I'm sorry, shame can live in the dark, but it cannot survive in the light. And so I brought my story to the light, and I just shared it, and I began to feel more empowered the more I shared it, and I began to feel more empowered the more I showed up for me. And then I realized these men never had power over me. I gave them my power. The funny thing is, the men knew I had power. They saw the prettiness, they saw the physical surface, but they also sensed the energy. I had the power. I am a powerful woman, but I just didn't realize it. And they were trying to usurp that power, and I gave that to them. I gave it to them. Pretty privilege is nothing if you don't know who you are. Pretty privilege is nothing if you don't have self-respect. Pretty privilege is nothing if you don't have self-worth. It's nothing. And even now, I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still healing. But it's like, this is surface level. But the work that I've done on myself, where I've built my intuition, I've built my discernment, so I can know the power within myself, that I can sense a man's intentions and I can sense a man's aura or a friend's intention or a friend's aura. Before, I would have ignored it. I would have second guessed it. I would have let myself fall deeply into something that was not for me. But now I trust myself and I honor myself. And I'm not perfect because I slip up, but I don't use being attractive as a badge of honor. That doesn't do anything for me. Having self-worth and self-respect does. You often see a lot of these women who are in media or in some type of entertainment. They're so beautiful, but they business out there. They normally are getting dogged by men and disrespected, treated horribly. One of the reasons I made this video is because I saw Cardi B has been saying that she is so fearful of her ex because of what he's doing while she's in a current situation. Cardi B is beautiful, but what that tells me is that being beautiful is not enough. Being sexy is not enough. Being adored and all those things is not enough. You have to have a sense of self-worth, because the men that you entertain is a reflection of where you currently are. There's a reason that we are drawn to certain type of people, and we want to talk to them, we want to deal with them, we want to be around them. There's a reason for that. And yeah, they may be horrible, they may be broken, they may be in pain, but that means we probably are too. I have no ill will to any man that has come into my life, because I have done a lot of forgiveness and a lot of releasing. And I also know that these men are broken themselves, very much broken. They were only able to come in my life because they were broken and I was broken. I don't have ill will towards them, but I also know that in order to move forward, I have to protect myself. I have to be my own warrior, my own safeguard. I have to be the one that is in preservation of me. And I saw a comment on one of my videos saying that you're too picky. And I want to let you know that being picky is just saying you have high standards. And before, I had no standards. I would do anything. I would grovel at the feet of a man just to have him. If he would have told me to lick his feet, I would have did it. If he would have told me to bark like a dog, I would have did it. I had no self-respect, no standards. I just wanted a man to want me and to choose me. That's all I wanted. So now, from going from no respect to having so much respect that ain't nothing, there's no compromise, there's no leeway, I will be single, and I'll be gladly single until someone of extraordinary value enters my life. That is it. That is all. Pretty privilege is an illusion. We watch these people online and social media and we think they have the perfect lives. We don't know what they have to go through. And I'm not saying everybody is going through something horrible, but we don't know that. Just because they're attractive does not mean that they have the sense of awareness, discernment, self-respect. Because we're all human and we all come from trauma. We all come from pain. We all come from whatever issues that we've dealt with. If we have not come to awareness about those issues, we play it out in our real life relationships with other people, your most intimate relationships. So being pretty is not enough. It just ain't, boo. Having self-worth is. If anybody else is on the healing journey, please let me know. I had to get this off my chest. I had to let it be known. Being pretty is bull. Okay, it's bull. I'm grateful for my grandmama blessing me with my divinity and my mama and my daddy. But it's still BS. It's still giving too much power. The power comes from within. It's knowing self. So let me know in the comments about your own journey. If you are working through things, if you've been through things, this is a safe space. This is our space. This is for women. Let's talk about it. I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.